what is Nuxt and why would I want to use it? And then as a person who doesn't ever touch Vue, how is it related to Next?
So, well, it is Nuxt is a framework for building web apps. And it's based on Vue, so it uses Vue for the front end part. It also has a server framework called Nitro that we built for it, which is now being used by other frameworks as well. So there's an Angular framework, meta framework called Analog, which is built on Nitro too. And we're really eager to collaborate with other frameworks. So Nuxt is I guess similar to Next in some of the things that you might look for. So it's a meta framework, that is. So it will basically aim to abstract away a lot of the pain of working with building a modern web app. So in the early days, that was the pain of configuring a your Webpack installation. That's not something people probably even remember these days, but it was a real pain point back in the day. Now Vite is our default bundler, but again, Nuxt takes care of configuring it and making things just work. So it makes things work like server-side rendering, SEO just works, routing, so you just create pages in a pages directory, and that works. One of the big things for Nuxt 3 has been just making TypeScript work. So again, you have things just sort of have the right type. Type inference works with, so for example, the kind of thing we can do because it's a meta framework, you create a server route in your application. We actually set it up so that when you are making a fetch request to that server route, you get the right return type of that server route in the front-end component where you are using it. So you have sort of end-to-end type safety just out of the box without having to do anything at all. We do other things as well, sort of performance optimized things. So we make a lot of utilities available to you that you can just use anywhere. But rather than register those things globally, we auto-import them where they're needed, which means that when you are building, Nuxt is a kind of framework that basically evaporates out. If you don't need it, it's not in your build. And so that's quite a nice sort of approach that really was made possible by Vue 3's pattern of composable utilities, sort of a composable architecture. So, and we use that in not just the front end part of Nuxt, but also in the server side. So basically, we make all of the sort of this smorgasbord of what you might want to do available to you, and then just what you need is actually part of your final site. But yes, it does a lot of things. It covers everything from the server side to the sort of browser side to the building and bundling in between.
What made the TypeScript integration hard?
Well, honestly, I wouldn't say it wasn't super hard, but it's just a lot of glue. So stuff, and as much as possible, I mean, best practice is you don't want the framework to be doing, you want it to be doing as little as possible. You want TypeScript to be doing the work. So some of the things we had, so our server framework, for example, has some really nice conventions. So it's called H3. And it's like a modern version of Express. That's what I mean by a sort of server framework. For example, if you're returning JSON, which is by far the normal thing to do, you just return an object, and it handles stringifying that and adding the right content type headers and sort of returning it. But because you're directly returning an object, it actually means that the return type of the endpoint is just actually the return type of the function. So we don't have to do any magic. We just have to tell TypeScript that the return type of the path, like /API root, matches the return type of this function, like this import. So it's at one line for every file. We also support sort of method matching. So like if you have a post endpoint, it might have a different return type from the get version of the same endpoint. So we also add that. So basically that is pretty much all we do. And then just some clever types. Library TypeScript is the worst kind, right? So it's to get that kind of magic of you start typing and it starts inferring, oh, this route can only accept these methods. So if you put the wrong method in, it's going to be a type error. That's really nice. But the amount of code, like type code needed to achieve that is often quite complex. But it's not specific to the root. It's just sort of generic library code that we wrote.
Is it running in like a separate process, or like is it just like like nothing's running? It's not code gen. It's just like the code makes that possible.
So basically, there are two pieces. So one is just TypeScript in your IDE is doing the work. There is a bit which is generated types, and basically you can inspect them. You can have a look in the .nuxt folder in your project, and that would be only changed, for example, when you create or remove a file. For the particular thing that we're talking about here. So you create a new server endpoint, and then this new file is the file has a new line added to it, basically saying this endpoint matches this file. Then, from that point onwards, you're making changes to the file. Nuxt doesn't have to write any changes because it's already told TypeScript to connect the two, and everything else is just your editor inferring it from that point. So we really try to keep that to a minimum. We do some code. We do some generated types. So, for example, when you are taking in environment variables into your app, we have a sort of convention of runtime configuration, which allows you to specify these are the variables that I care about. And that means at runtime, we don't just pull in all the environment variables that exist in that environment and sort of pipe them into your app. That would be a bad idea. But instead, only those variables get pulled in. Well, we type them. So if they come in as, because we will pass them, so you can pass booleans and numbers, strings, arrays, all kinds of things via an environment variable, which is technically only a string. And we can actually rewrite some code gen to say, when you're consuming it in your code, oh, this runtime config thing, it's a string. This one over here is an array of numbers. And so you can actually get that, and we generate that. But that's not really code you're touching much, or shouldn't really, like you're not iterating on that. You sort of set it up and then just consume it. As much as possible, but I mean, it's nice, isn't it, to have that kind of type support automatic.
Sweet, that sounds really cool.
You've just told me that you're sort of not a Vue person, so I just want to demo it for you and show you what it's like.
You won me over a little bit with that. Like code gen is often like, I don't like having to manage something like that. So the more automatic it can be, the better. And like React has jumped through many a hoop to try to get end-to-end type safety. And I love that you guys just built it in. Like if you look at like Next, the React server components are basically like a very long play to get like end-to-end type safety. And you did it without having to like reinvent the wheel.
Well, thank you. I mean, I guess we'll see what you say when you try it. But I mean, and it's interesting that I mean, Next are obviously our close sort of peer because Next inspired Nuxt. So Nuxt was created in the first place because Next existed. So Next did exactly this thing. It abstracted away the Webpack config for React, and Nuxt was the same for Vue. And it's been through a lot since then. So Next and Nuxt have both evolved in different directions. But because we are in the same ecosystem, as in we're facing the same problems, developers are trying to create performant web apps. We're trying to make it possible for them to have a good developer experience. And we're solving the same kind of problems along the way. So we have an interesting sort of path of converging and diverging at times. So one of the things that's very different between Nuxt and Next is the extensibility of Nuxt. So we have a modules ecosystem with Nuxt, which means anyone can write code that hooks deeply into Nuxt and how it operates. We have hooks that are called at lots of different points throughout the build process. And it's possible when TypeScript support was first added to Nuxt, it was added as a module. When somebody wants to add a new authentication provider, or they want to add a CMS or any optimization, anyone can do it. It doesn't have to come from the Nuxt team because these modules can do anything. In fact, a lot of Nuxt code is actually written as internal modules. So it's very, very, very buildable. Most significant changes we make to Nuxt start out as modules to test them. So it's not like everything that we use is exposed for anyone to use. And that means that has made a huge difference just in terms of how Nuxt has grown and developed. So we have a modules website that indexes a lot of these modules. Developers can sort of submit PRs to our Nuxt modules repo and just add their modules. So we've got hundreds and hundreds of modules for lots of different integrations that are maintained, many of them in a sort of Nuxt community repository, or organization. But then there are lots and lots of ones which are just fully third party or even entirely private. So within a company or organization, they'll have their own modules and configuration that they share and install from npm. So I think that's one of the interesting differences. Obviously, at the moment, there's server components that Next is really championing, and sort of this move to the app directory. That's all fun and interesting to observe. I actually just published an article about Nuxt server components. So we're obviously, we actually had them before React. Don't tell anybody. We had server components before React. And ours are very different. They're implemented in a different way. But again, we are circling. We're in similar waters. And so I think we have a lot to learn from each other.
Something that I've always loved about the Vue ecosystem and sort of Evan's outlook is that he always takes the best of everything that's happening in the ecosystem, or the community really that's working in the Vue ecosystem in general. So, when Vue 2 came out, it was like there was a similar sort of like virtual DOM implementation, and you could write components in JSX if you wanted to. And there were all these really interesting things. And then as Svelte came out, people were like, oh, disappearing framework. Evan's like, yeah, we can do that too. And, that kind of come in. And, Nuxt coming along and again, taking a lot of these lessons and doing their own things. But, I remember the server-side rendering story for Vue was sorted out long before React server-side rendering story was. And it's kind of interesting to hear about the server components thing being done early.
I mean, even now, the friction for React is so much harder than for Vue. So basically, it's really straightforward to write asynchronous code or to write data fetching into a Nuxt app. And also even for us to code it, how it works in Vue. You just have an asynchronous setup function for the component. We can have asynchronous sort of route navigation. It is not complicated in a lot of ways. I mean, it's very complicated with React. Like there's a lot of interesting work being done to make it less complicated and make it work better. But it is a lot harder. Whereas I think that's not so much a problem in Nuxt because of the fact that it's being built on Vue, and Vue has a different approach to what a component is and how a component renders. That means that we can have async setup and we can have async route navigation just out of the box.